So most men, they don't wake up and say, I'm being controlled. They think I'm doing my duty. They think I'm being responsible. They think they're holding it together. They think they're honoring their role. And while they're inside the situation, it doesn't feel like control. It feels like they're doing their duty, their obligation. It feels like they're being loving. They're taking care of their families. They feel like it's biblical. They feel like they're stepping up. But here's what often happens. The collapse comes first in those moments. The relationship breaks. Maybe their job ends. The market turns south. Everything goes wrong. The house burns down metaphorically. They can't work any harder because things just stop working. The structure they were holding together disappears. And then suddenly they say, I was controlled, but control didn't begin at the collapse. It began in the quiet compromise when they were doing everything, trying to keep everything together. So let me explain what usually happens. Manipulation is disguised as responsibility. A man believes he is leading, he is taking care of his family, he is doing what's right, he's doing what keeps the whole family together, but he's actually overfunctioning to prevent tension. He's absorbing the mood shifts, he's managing the emotions, he's making decisions based on avoiding upset and keeping things calm, not based on conviction. That's internal control. That doesn't feel forced, it feels chosen until it breaks. He has an internal fear of losing everything he's built, fear of being alone, fear of financial collapse, fear of looking unstable. After all, he's worked hard all his life. He does everything he can to keep everything together for the kids, for the family, for his wife, for whoever. So he tolerates the things that violate his peace. He doesn't call it fear, he calls it wisdom. But wisdom doesn't require self-erasure. When the system collapses, the anxiety that was always there becomes visible, and now it feels external. But it was internal first. This comes through a lack of boundaries. He never set them. Not clearly, not calmly, not consistently. He confused kindness with compliance. He confused sacrifice with self-neglect. He believed setting boundaries would be unloving, so he didn't, and over time his identity fused with being needed. When he's removed from the system, he doesn't just lose a relationship, he loses a role, and that feels like control. This ultimately leads to financial entanglement. Money becomes leverage, stability becomes pressure, provision becomes identity. So even when dysfunction is obvious, he stays. Because leaving would threaten financial structure, and financial fear is powerful, especially for men. Then we have spiritual confusion. Where is God in all this? I provided, I served, I stayed faithful, but I'm losing everything, and God's not doing anything. Here's the hard truth. God does not protect systems built on fear. He forms men through exposure. Sometimes collapse reveals what was already unstable, not as punishment, as clarity. I had to find this out, and I continue to find this out. James 1:2-3, consider it pure joy whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Perseverance requires exposure. And here's the key insight. You didn't suddenly become controlled. You were overfunctioning inside a structure that depended on your compliance, and when the structure no longer needed your compliance, it felt like betrayal. But betrayal and exposure are different things. Steadiness means learning to lead before collapse, setting boundaries before collapse, acting from conviction before fear builds. Now, in the next episode, we're going to talk about the differences between responsibility and control. Because many men are carrying things that were never theirs to carry. And until you separate those two, you're never going to feel steady. In the next episode, we're going to talk about the differences between responsibility and control, because many men are carrying things that were never theirs to carry. And until you separate those two, you'll never feel steady.